Well, it sure is a gorgeous day for a pandemic.
That sounds like a new Mr. Rogers song.
It's a gorgeous day for a pandemic. Just make sure you're not endemic.
We are recording at this point, Tom, so just know that this will be shared with the masses after it's all over. So
everywhere.
I'm just saying. But we've got a couple more minutes as we're waiting on people to join the meeting, so we'll get started at 12:30 promptly as soon as it looks like the bulk are here.
Good.
But it's nice to see people. Hello, Bill. How are you? And
I had to unmute. I'm good, thank you.
good to see you. And we've got the media here. Oh Lord, with Farragut Press. Everybody be careful what you say. It'll be in tomorrow's newspaper.
Right. Don't quote me earlier.
Yeah. We've got Charlotte and Terry. Hello, ladies.
Hello. My name is Terry.
And hey, Steve, how are you? Good deal.
Now everybody mute your phones. Put them on silent. Do we need to point out the accesses that are clear exits to the building?
If completely necessary.
I think it would be different for every person, though. It might get complicated.
And there's no smoking.
No, there's definitely no smoking. Well, if you're in your house, I suppose you can, but
snacking is allowed.
Snacking is allowed. Coffee is also allowed.
Snacking and drinking.
I think we've all been doing a lot of that.
Yeah, too much. Far too much.
Did anyone have any damage from the storm over the weekend?
We were lucky. We didn't get anything.
Good.
We had a branch come down 2 weekends ago with the other round of storms we had. Took part of our fence out, so we got that cleaned up on Thursday or Friday, and then sure enough, we're like, here comes another storm, and hoping the rest of the tree didn't come down. So we got lucky.
We had a road blocked on Gallagher View yesterday from them, or the day before.
We got lucky. I think the storms went south. We have some friends in Chattanooga, and quite a few people down there got some significant damage. The power grid at East Brainerd, it was completely down. They were panicked with meat in the freezer. How am I going to keep it viable? Calling their friends, do you have room?
I always have room for additional food.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's awesome. That's good to know. I may call on you one day.
I was gonna say, what's your address again?
Yeah.
How fast can I get there?
It might not come back to you, though. It may be.
I thought you were gonna take it, hold it, and then prepare it and deliver it back.
Oh, yeah. For the right price, I can deliver it. I can be bought.
Hey, this is when new businesses are born in times of need.
This will be a side hustle.
All right, guys. Well, it is 12:31 by my watch, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you to everybody who's here, and I'll continue to admit participants. Thank you for joining us for our first webinar, the Recovery Roadmap. And a huge props to our board member, Christine Dean, who is on a call in the meeting with us. Christine, do you want to say hello real quick?
Yeah.
Well, she'll chime in if she can.
In the meantime, golf clap.
Golf clap, absolutely. But anyway, we're really excited about this. We wanted to launch an educational series in person. We were going to host it at the community center. It was supposed to kick off on April the 6th, but obviously that didn't happen. And so we replaced it with this. And right now we're looking at making this a 3-part series. So there'll be more of these coming forward. Today's is obviously about getting your business marketing ready. And we've got 3 great panelists who are members of the chamber, Angela from Cumulus Media, Daniel from Slamdot, and Tom from ViaMedia. We are recording this meeting, so it'll be available to you afterwards. And also, everybody who's attending is going to get a PDF info sheet. So besides the live questions that we are going to ask today, these panelists already answered another 10 questions about tips and things that you should be considering as you plan your marketing strategy. Because there's never, ever a good time to stop marketing. You always have to be focusing on that. Just a quick reminder, if you're not speaking, put yourself on mute now. Panelists, if you're having audio issues, make sure you put yourself on mute if you're not the one speaking. And I'll switch to active screen so we can each focus on the person who is talking. But I'm going to go ahead and start introductions, so that way you can know who you're talking to. So Angela, why don't you kick it off? Tell them who you are and what do you do with Cumulus Media?
Hi there, let me unmute. I'm muted audio.
Okay.
I'm a sales account rep for Cumulus Media. We do a coordinated radio and digital campaign for clients. For the purposes of this, I'm going to focus on the radio side of the business. So I'm looking forward to sharing maybe some ideas of how we might be able to help you on the radio, virtual, remote segment, live endorsement side today. I'm going to type in here how you can reach me in the comment section. So I'm going to work on that right now.
Awesome. And yeah, absolutely. Drop your name and your business and your contact info in the chat. And if you have a question come up while we're going through the questions in the panel, type that question into the chat and I'll pose it to the panelists. Okay, next, Daniel Monday. Do you want to go ahead, introduce yourself?
Yep. Hey guys, good afternoon. Good to see everyone. Glad you could join us. Daniel Monday with Slamdot. And our focus is really on the digital side, really website development and digital marketing with a pretty heavy emphasis on search marketing. So getting as much visibility as possible in Google for the most part. And also do quite a bit of social media advertising, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn, things like that. So that'll kind of be what I'll be sharing with you more today. And I did drop my information in the chat there, email and phone number. So feel free to holler at me if you have any questions or I can do anything to help you out. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel, for that. And their contact information is also going to be in that PDF that we're going to send you after the webinar is over. Tom Sharp with ViaMedia. Introduce yourself.
Hi, y'all. My name is Tom Sharp. I work with ViaMedia. We are a marketing and advertising company. The main thing that we've done for almost 20 years now is we work with smaller cable systems and sell their advertising on popular networks like CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, HGTV, ESPN, and those kinds of things. We also do a full fleet of digital stuff, but I'm not going to talk about that. What I wanted to also talk about was a thing called OTT, and it's gonna really sound foreign to most people because nobody really knows what I'm talking about. But if you don't have cable and you've got a thing that plugs into your television, that's streaming. And so there's a way that you can digitally send impressions about your business to those folks within a radius or in a zip code that are targeted to specific buying groups. And so that is the hottest, most growth potential advertising medium out there. And it's about 30 to 35% of the people that watch television stream it. And so they're watching their premium television content on streaming. They're also still watching on cable. Older people still, like me, like to be able to turn their television on and be able to see the thing and not see a little blue bar go across, or be able to change channels quickly. And so that's the thing that 45s and up still enjoy watching their television on cable television. And we can help you with TDS Telecom, which is a strong chamber supporter, WOW, which is all over the county, 3 others that I have, and about 80 different markets around the country. So we can market nationwide if you have that kind of a product.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom. All right. I'm going to go ahead and start with our questions. We've got 5 questions. Each panelist is going to take just a couple minutes to answer. Again, if you're an attendee and you come up with questions, drop those questions in the chat as you think of them, and we'll pose them if we have time later on. But the first question for the whole panel is, what's the #1 thing that a business owner or someone who is in charge of their business's marketing, what's the #1 thing that they can do now in order to prep for a recovery advertising strategy? Angela, do you want to kick it off and pick that one up?
Well, I'd love to. Let me first start with a quote from Henry Ford. A man who stops advertising to save money is like a man who stops a clock to save time. So I would say the first thing is don't panic with everything going on. A lot of people are in panic mode, wondering what's going to happen in uncertainty. I would say that the main thing is, if you are advertising, continue to advertise. The companies that stay with advertising and keep the sales process going are the ones that are going to fare most during this time. So if you are not, then we're going to talk about ways that you can determine what your budget should be and how to be prepared a little bit later, I believe, in the teleconference. But in the main thing is just, don't panic, continue to advertise, get your message out, use every mode possible that you can that's free, like your social media accounts. I see a lot of people using that. We are trying to let people know what businesses are open for business and which ones have modified the way they're doing business. So, reach out to those of us, even if you're not spending dollars. Let us help you during this time, but let us also help you be prepared for when all of this is over and we need to come out of it quick.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, Daniel, what is the #1 thing that a business owner or head of marketing can do now to prep their recovery advertising strategy?
Yeah, so Angela hit it on the head. Don't panic, and you definitely don't want to pull back. I'd say in terms of preparing for kind of the recovery phase, because I kind of break this up into pretty much everybody's in survival phase, and you've got rebuild. So you kind of break it down. It's easier to kind of think about these things. A lot of people right now are innovating as best they can, offering new services, things like that. So, but in terms of the rebuild phase, you really need to start planning. So if you don't have a plan, when the rebuild phase period begins, when you can begin to advertise and invest and market and launch new initiatives and things like that, without a plan, you're going to be all over the place. So that applies pretty much anytime, good times or bad. So I would say start thinking about a plan and really begin to think about who your customers are, who your ideal customers are in terms of demographics, where they spend time and all that. And then put together a plan to reach those folks, and then think about messaging. Obviously, you have to have a message about what you want to promote during that rebuild phase that's going to get people in the door, calling, emailing, setting up consultations, whatever it might be. So again, plan now, so you're ready to roll when you can pull the trigger.
Good deal. All right, Mr. Tom Sharp, ViaMedia, the #1 thing that a business can do now to prep for their recovery marketing strategy?
Well, I think the thing they need, both Angela and Daniel pretty much have nailed it before me, but I think that you really have to figure out where you are, how much money you have, what your goals are, and how fast you need for those goals to try to resolve themselves. Or I'd like to get this. I'd like to have 10 to 15 more new customers by the end of this date to here. If you're in a business that provides services to people at home, right now is a great time to still be advertising. because people are at home. I don't know how many people how many of you all have gone up and down Kingston Pike here in the last 2 or 3 days. I think you could probably do 150 miles an hour and not be caught. Because there's just nobody out, and very few cops, so don't really do that. But I mean, we're just so spooked right now with this. I feel like there are a lot of people that, of course, I'm in television, and I feel like there are two different groups. There are people that are, I want to know everything about this, and then there's a group of, I don't really want to know any more about it, so I'm going to binge watch and try to forget about it. But I think for a business, anybody that's in charge of a business, anybody that's in charge of marketing, you just need to figure out what your goals need to be. And like Daniel and Angela says, formulate a plan and then decide when it is that you want to do something or continue to do things. So I don't know. It's just, it just all depends on the individual business, the business type, who, as Daniel says, who you're trying to reach and where, and be in survival mode. This thing is not going to go away anytime soon, and we all need to wrap our heads around it, but to try to survive and stay in business and weather the storm. And that's what we're in. We're in a huge storm.
All right. Next question for the panel. And one thing we didn't touch on was how much experience each of you guys have in your industry. So I'm going to ask you to give me both of those pieces of information. Daniel, let's kick back over to you. Tell them, first of all, how many years you've spent in digital marketing as it relates to websites. And then what's one thing that a business should focus on to facilitate their advertising success?
Sure. So Slamdot's been around, we've 15 in August. So I've got 15 years with Slamdot, and then I've got a couple of years prior to that. I worked at another business in North Carolina. So probably 17, 18 years total myself, company-wise, we're right around 15. So, and again, that's website and digital marketing focused. As far as, kind of preparing and something else you can do task-wise, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. I would begin to put together a list of kind of your lowest hanging fruit. This is something we preach. When you're investing money anywhere, you want to try to get the best ROI. That's personally, obviously, and then it's in business, it's the same truth. So we always recommend go after your lowest hanging fruit. Who is your most ideal customer that you target the best, that you best serve, that you also want to work with the most, that generates the most profitability. So you need to find an intersection of those things. A lot of times that's based on demand. So what you sell, what's in most demand out of kind of the repertoire of services and products you offer, and then what's most profitable. The highest demand product may not be the one with the most profitability built in based on your margins. So you really need to start thinking about your business, and this is a good time as any to really break down your business and what products and services you offer, including new ones, where you're most profitable, and then how you can target and put together a list of those things. And again, like Tom mentioned, reaching the right people in the right place. Begin to build that list now. That way you have that target as soon as things flip back on, you're ready to go.
Okay, awesome. Angela, how many years of experience do you have in radio marketing? Because I feel like it's a lot. And then what's one thing that businesses should focus on to facilitate success of their advertising?
So radio marketing, 5 years, it feels like a lifetime. And I have been in sales and marketing my entire adult lifetime. So that is my background. That's what I'm best at. And honestly, what I'm best at is taking a small budget, investing it, growing it. And so I have accounts that have been with me and have expanded every year because of the fact we started where you can when it's time, and then we get success and we grow it a little bit and we grow it a little bit more. So Daniel hit the nail on the head. You have to think seriously about your profitable, your product that has the most profitability, the clients you want to work with. Once you get all that in place, you have to look at the marketplace and see how you want to achieve your goal, because there are a slew of us out there wanting to take your dollars, and you're going to have to figure out which one is going to give you your best ROI. So you're going to have to get some measurements in place. You're going to have to give things time. You can't try something for a month and then switch to something else for a month and switch to something else. You might as well take your dollar bill and burn it. So you're going to have to really do some research and figure out the right place to be. But I think what we haven't touched on yet is your message has to be right. That's one of those things that we didn't talk about. We'll get to it. But being in the right place at the right time to the right people with the right message and the right frequency is super important. So.
Awesome. Yeah, the next question, we'll talk about messaging and how to craft your message or your call to action. Tom Sharp, how many years have you been in advertising, and then more specifically with television, and what's the one thing that businesses should focus on to facilitate the success of their advertising?
Well, I have been in media and in marketing since the early 80s. So that dates me a little bit. In fact, Angela and I worked together for a while when I was with News Talk and Sports Radio. So I was there when Angela came. So I've been working for ViaMedia for about 3.5 years. It's a good company. It's a very strong company. In fact, our thing that we came up with a couple of weeks ago is called ViaMedia Strong. And it's a really good thing for everyone to try to stay strong during these really strange times. I think the low-hanging fruit is a very good analogy. If you're in a business, you really need to figure out, okay, who's my target? How am I going to reach them? And how often am I going to have a program to reach those people? Reach and frequency is really, it's not any kind of magical thing. It's just having a message out there enough to where it's heard or seen or clicked on or whatever 3 or 4 times in a week. That's about the time that the number of times that message needs to hit your brain in order to make sense. And if it makes sense for you to act on it, then you do. If you keep it in the back of your brain for when, say, I have a tree that's gone down, with all these storms. Well, golly, let's look up all the tree people. So or if you're involved in Iraq, good Lord, there's 8 million personal accident attorneys with all sorts of conditions of ways of marketing. Well, you figure out, well, what's that message or that number? Oh yeah, that's for, I'm not going to name any names, but it starts with the 531. I think everybody can probably put the last 4 on it because those people advertise. So just try to weather the storm. And if either one of us can help you, know that we live here, and number one, we're not going to rip you off. You have hard-earned dollars that you want to spend in your business, whenever that is, to try to promote your business. And we all 3 of us are good people. So that's it.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get to messaging now. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest challenges that some businesses struggle with is, how do you craft the right message? How do you craft the right call to action? And then how does it have to change for different platforms? Because digital is different from radio, which is also different from television advertising. Angela, how would you guide businesses in how to craft the right call to action or message for radio?
Well, I think right now what we're finding is people are needing to rely more on branding and letting people know you're here for them throughout this unprecedented time that we're going through. I did say earlier you need to keep the sales pressure on, and that's true, but I think right now people just want to know that who's there for them in the branding side. But when you're in general going forward, you're going to want to craft some sort of call to action, a reason for someone to pick up the phone or Google you. As we know, most people now, they Google. And that's a lot of the ways ads have changed. On the radio, you don't hear people saying phone numbers so often anymore. They give a web address, or they just say their name because they know everyone's going to turn around and Google whatever it is, whatever name that they remember. So the key is to be very simple in what you say, very pointed in what you say, and just right now I think people are just needing a little empathy. So.
Okay, awesome. Tom, how does a business owner, how do you help a business owner get the right message out, the right call to action for television ads?
Well, I think all three of us do what we call a client needs analysis. In the business, it's a CNA. You get with a business and find out what they want to do. What type of business are they? Who do they appeal toward? You come up with a plan. You come up, usually in our business, the first thing you do is try to formulate an audio message that's going to be underneath a video piece. I worked with a client about 2.5 months ago, and it took us about 3 hours to formulate a 30-second spot. But by the time we did, his spot was so much more spot on, no pun intended, but I mean, it was toward his commercial before was very much an image spot. And so there was no call to action. You've got to have no more than 3 things in any message. Otherwise, nobody's going to remember it. Hopefully they'll remember the name of your business and what you're about, and then a call to action. And as Angela says, you know, where people are getting their information are these things. And they're looking at these things about 30 to 40 times a day. How often are we checking our Facebook? How often are we checking our email? And, you know, the phone book is passé. It's gone. They're the most aggressive salespeople out there were the phone directory people. But who has one now? I challenge anybody to go and find a phone book and show it on this video. You're not going to find one. You find numbers with this. And in order to get them to go to that, then they need to know who you are and what it is you do. And when the time comes, and when that triggering action happens, it's one of the things that I learned at Cumulus is that you've got to be known before you need it. I said it before, Angela. I got you. But that's exactly what it is. You have to be known before you're needed. And not right now. Everybody doesn't need your specific business, maybe, because we're all staying at home. Jennifer works for Travelers. And most insurance companies are giving a 10 to 15, 20% discount for these 2 months because nobody's on the road. And so if you haven't checked with your insurance agency, by golly, call them and see if you can't get something off for these next 2 months. You know. So anyway, I hate to ramble, but you just have to weather the storm.
All right, Daniel, how does Slamdot, or how would you advise a business owner to help craft their message or their call to action for digital ads?
Yeah, probably the easiest question people should ask themselves is putting themselves in their potential customer shoes. What's in it for me? It's always what's in it for me. If you're just pushing features, benefits, whatever, Benefits obviously are going to be better than features, but you really want to figure out how do those features and benefits actually help someone, either solve a problem, alleviate them of some kind of pain or whatever. So that's really the ultimate question when it comes to messaging. And the beauty of all the things we're talking about is none of this is revolutionary. Like, this is all marketing and advertising that's been happening for centuries. So the foundations of all this, really what we're talking about today is how to innovate, and how to tweak and modify messaging, but the core of it's still the same. If you're a restaurant, for instance, when you open back up, people obviously are going to have different ideas and different thoughts about eating it out now. So your messaging, you still want to target the same consumers, but you might want to sprinkle in some things about, your safety protocols and that kind of thing, because people are now going to be thinking about that more than they did 2 months ago. So really you're just innovating your messaging, but the core is still what's in it for me. So if you just put yourself in your potential customer's shoes, that's the main question. And then Angela mentioned earlier too, simplicity. Keep the message simple as well. Don't try to throw in 10 different things, into a 30-second spot, or to a Google ad. We're not going to try to pack a bunch of things into an ad in Google or a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad. Drill it down. Now you can try different messages over the course of a few weeks or a few months, kind of experiment, but one ad should not say numerous things, because you're going to dilute it all down and people are going to miss the point. So, and then strong call to action. You got to have a call to action. Visit our website, sign up for our newsletter, come to our store, text this number to sign up for our text club to get discounts. You have to have a call to action at the end of pretty much every message. So that's all I've got. Yeah.
Awesome. And it's great how you guys are kind of dovetailing and singing the same song in between each other. Keep it simple. You have to be known before you're needed. That's definitely true. And then, call to action, know what you're wanting these people to do or asking them to do. And that's a great point, Daniel, also about how even as we recover, we're going to be in a different perspective. We're going to be thinking about safety protocols for a long, long time. This isn't just going to all evaporate. Okay, well, that leads us to, no pun intended, the $1 million question for all of you. Budget. A lot of businesses right now, as you've already mentioned, are scaling back or looking at how they're going to do the rest of the fiscal year. Is there an easy formula for businesses to determine their advertising budget, where they should spend it, how they should spend it? Angela, do you want to take a stab at that one?
Sure, I'd be happy to. One of the things I couldn't get my mute off a second ago as you were recapping what we were saying is we are going to be thinking differently. But the key here is think like your customer, don't think like a business. So when you're putting together your message, you've got to think, what is my customer thinking right now? And that'll be your best guide. Let me grab my notes. For businesses that are fairly new, ones that have been in business for 1 to 3, 1 to 5 years, you're going to want to spend more money on marketing than someone who has been in the business for a while and already developed market share or brand. I recommend 12 to 20% of your gross revenue or your projected revenue should be spent on advertising if you're in that 1 to 5 year category. And I think once you've been around and people know who you are, you can spend less. I would say more like 6 to 10%. But you think about companies like McDonald's, they're still advertising. We all know who McDonald's is. We know these companies that have great Kellogg's, these people that have great brands, Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper, the sweet one. We hear these ads. People want to stay top of mind so that they are at someone's on the tip of their mind when they're needed. So I hope I didn't grab my notes, so I hope I covered everything I wanted to cover on the budget. But I would say more early on, less as you become more known. You will get more bang for your buck if you're on multiple advertising modes. So I'm a big fan of radio as your base buy always, but you know, you can layer in digital, you can layer in, I'm a huge fan, Farragut Press is not on here, but I constantly sing their praises. They're the best bang for the buck in print in this market. So you will get more return the more you start to layer, but you've got to do it in baby steps.
Awesome, thank you. Tom, budget. How do you advise a new business? What should they spend their marketing dollars on? What should their budget look like?
Well, here's the thing. Angela touched on this earlier. You need to do at least a 3-month campaign. It takes that long to figure out, you know, people that are watching, listening, reading, whatever, that you're there. So whatever it is, you need to do that for 90 days, 3 months, 4 months, however long. You need to target. You know, not everybody is a Lance Cunningham Ford, and going out to all 20, 30 counties that are in the Knoxville DMA. Your business may just be in Farragut. Your business may be in West Knoxville. And you really don't want to go out and get people in from Tazewell. You know, because nine times out of 10, people aren't going to drive from Tazewell to get your business because there's somebody else that's closer doing what you do. So try to regionalize. You know, don't go out and just say, oh gosh, I'm going to spend $5,000 this month. Well, where are you going to spend that? You know, who are you going to try to reach? How often do you think that thing's going to be heard or seen for those people to respond? You know, $5,000 with me is a lot of money. And you could run a bunch of cable TV ads. You could run about 4 or 5 months worth of digital ads with me for that. So, you know, it just depends on where the business is at the particular time. None of us are trying to take your money. We're trying to invest your money, and we've all had enough experience at this to where we can take a good client needs analysis and come back with a plan, a budget that's going to try to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And if it's now, if it's in 3 months, if it's in 6 months, God help us. But I mean, we've really, you know, you really got to think about this thing right now. And then when hopefully some of this eases off this summer, and I don't think it's going to be any time before then that's the time that we can try to pull the trigger and try to help you.
Thanks, Tom. And you touched on something, you know, it's not just spending marketing dollars, it's investing marketing dollars. And that will talk to the next question on ROI, return on investment. But Daniel, how about budget for Slamdot, for digital ads, website? How do you guys figure out or recommend budget? Is there a formula?
I would say to some degree, we do kind of have a formula. Now, and all these formulas, like they use averages. We're basically trying to predict the future. You know, advertising as marketing is one of those things that you pay for and you invest in, as Tom mentioned, and you don't have a tangible product. It's not like buying a cup and you know what you're getting. You're investing for the future, and the future is unknown. Nobody has a crystal ball. So now from a budgeting standpoint, I would say short answer is exactly what Angela was saying, 5 to 10% of your annual revenue or expected revenue if you're a newer business or haven't started your business yet. Probably 10 to 20% if you want to get more aggressive, either early on or really anytime in your business lifespan. So that's a good benchmark if you kind of want to start from there and adjust up and down based on your situation. You know, but we always look at ROI. So a nice thing that we can do is we do a lot of tracking. So we can look at the conversion steps in the process. So somebody does a search in Google, for instance, for say a painter. They need a painter in Knoxville. You know, that's one conversion step. The next conversion step, they see an ad pop up for an advertiser for a painting company. That ad has to get that person to click the ad, go to the website. The website then has to convert that person into a call or an email or some kind of lead, some kind of prospect for that painting company. So there's multiple conversion steps along the way. And we can reference data and averages for those conversion steps and figure out, $1,000 a month, for instance, for painting, targeting this area may get you roughly this many clicks, this many visits, this many conversions, and then looking at your business, what's your closing rate. So businesses have to figure out their closing rate and their internal metrics as well to make the whole formula work. If we send you 10 leads and you don't know how many you can close on average, it's going to be really difficult to figure that out. So you need to be looking at your books, looking at your appointments compared to close rate, that kind of thing, and figuring all that out. And it makes things a whole lot easier when you're budgeting and planning for marketing.
Awesome. Daniel, I'm going to keep you with us for the next question. You've already kind of stepped into it. ROI. Now you guys have ways that you track ROI for clients.
Mm-hmm.
How does a business owner operating independently, what should they be doing in order to track ROI? So say they've invested some dollars in television, in digital, in radio, maybe in social media and a couple other platforms. What should they be doing on their own to make sure and gauge the ROI that they're getting from all those platforms?
Yeah. So first place you need to start to track anything is a place to track stuff. So tracking means data and information. If you don't have a place to put the data, then you're not tracking anything. You're just keeping it in your head. So bare bones, a spreadsheet. Ideally, some kind of CRM system, customer relationship management software. And there's dozens and dozens of those out there. Simple, complex, everything. So happy to chat with folks more about that. But you need a system or something to track that information. So start there. The next piece is, okay, now how do we track this information and put it into the system? The easiest question you can ask, which has been going on for years, is, how did you hear about us? The problem with that is people forget. If you have a marketing mix and you're on TV and radio and digital and billboards and print and everything else, you may have seen a message in 5 different places. So what is the message that got you there in the first place? Or it might have been all of them. So you can't rely on people telling you the truth, unfortunately, because it just doesn't happen. So something we recommend, and the beautiful thing about this is it can actually apply to TV, radio, yard signs, your trucks, your print advertising, whatever it is call tracking. So there's software that lets you create trackable phone numbers, and you can track anything, literally anything. If you can print a phone number, publish a phone number, if somebody can put a phone number in a radio ad, you can track that campaign. And it's hands down one of the best tools any business owner can get for their business to figure out where the money is being best spent, and where it's not, and find the right mix, because we are big believers of a mix. You do what you can now because you have limited budget, but if you can be in 5 places instead of 1, then you're going to reach 5 times as many people in multiple different areas. So yeah, from a tracking standpoint, have a place to track it, and then ask people, and ideally have some kind of tracking software that tracks phone calls and things. I'm happy to chat with folks more about that too, if they're interested in how that actually works. So.
All right, we have a question from the chat. I'm going to go ahead. How can you get a trackable phone number?
Yeah, so there's different software out there. There's quite a few of them. The one that we recommend is called CallRail, but it's basically a software-based service. So what you do is you go in. A lot of people, especially here, are probably operating maybe on a local or regional level. So usually you're going to get a phone number that has like an 865 area code, for instance, or 423 if you're going to kind of be in the outskirts or whatever. But you create a trackable phone number with a local area code that forwards to your main business phone number. But when that phone number is published, say, let's say it's published in an ad somewhere, somebody sees that ad, that phone number only appears in that ad. It doesn't appear anywhere else in the world. So the only way you know that somebody called that number is they saw that particular ad, in that particular media source, wherever it might have been. So that's exactly how it works. So you create multiple phone numbers, and it will revolutionize a business from a marketing advertising standpoint if they actually apply it. Now we use it for digital, but we have some customers that use it for everything. They can see where their business comes from anywhere. So yeah, it's a software-based service.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to move on to Tom, but Daniel, can you drop that that software into the chat? That'd be awesome. Tom, ROI. How would you tell a business who's independently tracking where they're getting their best bang for the buck? How should they do that? What questions should they be asking?
Well, the bottom line is the bottom line. If you're investing X number of dollars in a certain area, then if you see your business increase, then, you know, maybe not directly, but you would think that whatever you're doing is increasing your bottom line. A lot of our larger digital accounts use a thing we have called a dashboard, which gives you the number of impressions that are coming in, or the number of times that a particular commercial is being watched digitally, and the areas that they're coming from, similar to what the Daniel software does. You know, just I really think it's keep it simple, stupid. I mean, if we all just kind of remember that, the old KISS method, whatever you're spending, whatever you're investing, I like to use the word investment because any kind of marketing is an investment. It's not really a roll of the dice. You've hopefully done your homework. You've spoken with someone that's not just a package pusher, that's calling on your business and saying, I know exactly what you need and here it is. No, you don't. You know, if my knee hurts, you think I'm gonna go to a dentist? You know, I'm gonna go to an orthopedic surgeon. Say, what's wrong with this? Well, let's do some tests. Let's figure out, let's do an x-ray. Let's do an MRI or whatever. And then we'll say, your knee has this, and this is what you need to do to fix it. That's all the three of us are ever trying to do, is to try to come up with whatever pain you're in. Everybody's in pain right now. So, I mean, all the Advil in the world won't be able to fix it. But you want to have a particular way of going about it in a measured amount. And, you know, I could, if you gave away $100 bills to the next 50 people, boy, I tell you what, that right there is going to get a lot of response. But not everybody wants to do that. And that is the ultimate giveaway, is giveaway of money. But you know, it's just trying to use your head more than what as a hat rack, you know, and just breathe. You know, Pat Summitt said it best: left foot, right foot, breathe. And we all need to breathe.
That's a good point. Angela, how do you recommend that businesses track their ROI across their platforms if they're doing it themselves?
Well, Daniel gave us a very good method. And old school works well. I have an account in Fountain City that's been in business for over 25 years, and he literally keeps a piece of paper. He doesn't even have a spreadsheet, Daniel. He has note paper, and he finds out where every lead came from, and that's how he tracks it, and that's how he buys his media. And he's tried everything in 25 years. And for him, it's radio, and it's TV during the news, and he's doing a little bit of digital. And the digital has been like pulling teeth because he's old school and he's paper, and so he doesn't really understand it. But thank goodness he has staff that he has who does understand it and the value. And so when you go to the call tracking numbers, I'm a big fan, but they're not always reliable when you're using them for TV and for radio, because again, what do people do? They hear something, they go, Provision, I'm going to Google it, and then they hit the call tracking number that's there on Google. So the main thing is you will be able to see if your sales are going up. You will know by talking to people that it's working. You just have to trust your gut. You know, just trust your gut for the most part of what is working and what isn't working. Give things time. Don't hop around. Start with one thing and slowly increase as you go along.
Awesome. Well, it looks like we've got about 14 minutes left. If you have a question and you're an attendee, go ahead and drop it in the chat, and we'll bring those up as they come. I'm going to take you guys and put you a little bit on the spot, and ask you a question that was not in your preparatory materials. But I think it's a question that businesses may be thinking about right now, because we're seeing some of it. There are some businesses who are already changing their marketing message to specifically address what's going on right now, to address the pandemic, stay-at-home orders, and the new normal that people are grappling with. Are you seeing that in your industry with your advertisers? And is that something you would recommend a business consider doing right now, changing their marketing message? Angela, do you want to go ahead and answer it?
Not off. There we go. Now I'm off mute. We are seeing it. People are changing their message. Again, they're trying to be very empathetic with what is going on. The main thing is they want people to know that they are in business, they are in service. They've changed, for instance, restaurants now are curbside. You can order a margarita in a drive-through. There's all kinds of ways that you can get people enticed to come into your business, but people are definitely changing the way that they're communicating what's available. Surprisingly, advertising is not off for us as much as one would think. I was panicked going in thinking everyone would be canceling left and right. People are staying the course. We have had a few cancellations, mostly due to large events, such as concerts and gatherings, and things are being postponed. Again, if you can put your mind in the customer's mind and say, what does my customer want to hear from me right now? That's probably what they want to hear from you right now.
Okay, great. Tom, what about you? Are you seeing a change in your advertisers' message? Are they addressing the pandemic? And is that something you would recommend current or new clients think about?
Yeah, I really haven't seen a whole lot of change in the customers I still have. And we've had several cancellations. March Madness was a big hit on us. All sports is still a big hit. I find it amusing that there's a certain car dealership that has 3 dealerships here in town, and they're all saying the same message, that we're still open, we're an essential business, we'll be able to take care of you either remotely, and we clean everything. And so, you know, I think I think we all need to get used to being this is the new normal. Then your message probably needs to address that. You still want to be able to offer your products and services, but you need to bear in mind that when people go to Ingles, 90% of them are wearing masks. That's a really weird thing to do, and that's not going to protect you from catching this. If somebody has it, it's going to hopefully keep you from getting whatever cooties that you've got out. So, and that's really what it's about. But no, I really think we're you know, the president's on for hours at a time every day, and Governor Cuomo's on for hours every day, and that's good. That's good information. But sometimes it's overload. Sometimes it scares the bejesus out of people. And right now, you know, it's good information, but nobody needs to be any more scared than they are right now. And we just all need to come together, not hold hands, but we need to have maybe a mindset. Go out and walk every day. That's what we do. We've discovered areas around where we live that we've never been up and down those streets. Go out and walk 5,000, 6,000 steps at least every day. It'll improve your outlook. It may not improve your bottom line. Hadn't done a whole lot for mine, but I mean, it makes you feel better. And know that this is not going to last forever. You know, they'll develop some sort of a vaccine after a while, but I think that we've all just kind of got to get used to, you know, coming up with a different message along with what you've been doing and incorporate that in what you want to do now.
Awesome. Daniel, what about you? Are you seeing your digital clients changing their message, and would you recommend that current or new clients change their message to address what's going on?
I think it's definitely case by case. I wouldn't say that kind of on the marketing advertising side, we're changing it a whole lot, except for maybe some of the businesses that are still around, like restaurants that are still able to operate and do curbside and delivery and all that. They're obviously needing to enforce, like, hey, we're sanitizing and cleaning and we're doubling down on our efforts there, which is interesting. Before this, we all trusted that those restaurants and places were doing that anyway. Now they're just having to emphasize that they are, and they're doing it, you know, 4 times as much. So beyond that, not really. I mean, a lot of our businesses, the core message is still the same. Like, I think it was Tom that mentioned earlier, I was chatting earlier about a tree that came down. A tree that comes down, I mean, to me, the COVID tie-in just isn't really all there. I mean, the guys that took care of our cleanup, by the time I got down there, they were done with the work. So I didn't have to talk to them, and they sent me an invoice. So those are businesses that really aren't having to tie in the coronavirus COVID messaging at all. I will say one thing that, and Tom kind of was alluding to some of this too. People really need to start making decisions based on some logic and facts and not just emotion. There is a level of intuition that we all have, and we need to use that intuition and some of that emotion. But if you're just making decisions solely on emotion, you may make some right decisions, but you're probably going to make some wrong decisions. So you need to have logic and reasoning and facts, and people need to think about things. And that kind of goes back to one of the very first points that Angela made at the very beginning, was not panicking, and thinking through decisions that you're making so they don't actually end up being detrimental, even more so than things are right now. So just taking the facts, we're all smart people. Let's use some common sense and kind of think through things to have a plan. So.
Yeah, and Paula from MediSpa, thanks you, Daniel. We all needed to hear that message. Positivity, hope, and faith that better days are coming, because they are. We know that. And that's part of why we're doing this webinar series, because if you keep your eyes on the future and on the horizon, you're going to go somewhere. So that's our goal with this. All right, well, we're going to wrap up with some last statements, last things. We've just got a couple minutes, so we need to keep it kind of brief. Tom, is there anything final that you want to add and tell everybody?
Oh, good Lord. Everybody just take a breath. I mean, take a breath, and I promise you, this is only orange juice. So right. Steve said alcohol sales are up. I can imagine they are, because this is very stressful. But we're all going to get back to our lives eventually. I don't know how soon that's going to be. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't think anybody in America or the world has a crystal ball. But you can't stop marketing. You can't stop your business. You've got to, as Daniel says, you got to think. You got to say, go after those low-hanging fruit. Try to market to your area where you get your business from. Try to track who is coming in and what's working and what's not. And know that any of the three of us will be able to talk with you like a human being, try to come up with a plan. And if you don't feel like it's what you want, we're not going to be offended by it, because it's just business. That's all it is. And that's just all it is. So it's just his business. So if either one of us can help you, please reach out to us.
Awesome. All right, 4 minutes. Daniel, any last final thoughts, recommendations?
I mean, we've touched on quite a bit. I would say, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, fear is a great motivator. I would just caution you to, like we were saying, just stay positive. You know, help one another out. Innovate where you can. This is we're being forced to innovate. A lot of us are. So just innovate where you can with your messaging, your products, your services, how you deliver those products and services, how you communicate with your clients. Just there's multiple areas in a business that you can innovate, and continue doing those things. You know, if you're a restaurant that was forced to offer curbside when you didn't before, start offering it later, because you'll probably see more sales from it when things get back on track. So just kind of continue that. I'm here to help. Chat with anybody. We are, just as a company, for both new and existing clients, we are offering discounts and just helping wherever we can with pricing options and whatnot for website development, for marketing. We're just doing what we can to, you know, help the clients out that we're able to at this point in time. So good luck to everybody. And like I said, my information's in the chats and the PDF. Feel free to holler at me if you just want to talk about the situation and get something off your chest. I will love to chat with you about those things. So
awesome. And it's, you know, it's really good to hear these are not just sales pitches, it's businesses connecting with each other. And I think we can all use that peer-to-peer connection. Angela, you're going to help us close it out. Any final thoughts, final tips?
Awesome. Well, we've said it all along. Remain calm. We're in this together. We will get through it. We'll come out stronger on the other side. Please tune in to your Cumulus radio stations. I think people are, and research shows people are looking for positive, uplifting news. The sports people are looking to escape pandemic information. So they're looking, we're doing rebroadcasts of old classic historic ball games that people are totally addicted to. We're even doing one Saturday with the old John Ward broadcast, which is really cool. And two, people want to just hear their favorite music artists and how to connect. I mean, connection is the key. And I think what I'm trying to do is just reach out and just see how people are doing. I'm not concerned with selling right now. If I can sell something, great. But you know, I just want to know where you are in this situation and how we can help, whether it be now or down the road. You know, we're here for you. All of us are. You've got a good group of people on this call, both as subject matter experts and attendees. Everyone here, we're all in it together. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you for your expertise. The panelists spent a lot of time answering questions and preparing. And like I said, as soon as this is ended, I'm going to jump on here and send you guys the PDF packet. But feel free to follow up with any of these individuals with questions you have. Stay tuned. Our next Recovery Roadmap webinar is going to be on April 21st, 12:30 p.m. So tune in then. And until then, stay happy and stay healthy. See you guys. Thank you.
see ya.
Stay safe.
Thanks, Farragut.